Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast episode. On today's show, I'm so happy to have Tim Cox. He's the co-founder of CarNow, and we're going to be talking about real-time retailing, modern retailing, and some hints of big announcements this fall. Tim, welcome to the show.
Ooh, I'm pretty happy to be here. I was about to welcome you back, but I am very welcome that you welcome me. How about that?
Yeah, come
Lots
on.
of welcomes around. It's good to be here again, brother.
Yes, it is. And, what I love about having guests that come on each year to the show is we get to look back and see the history, how companies have pivoted as market shifts and changes. I remember many years ago, you, me, Joe Chur were on stage when I challenged the industry about form completion rate and moving to a conversational commerce model. Very quickly after that, you came out with what is now called Convert Now, moving those CTA buttons into conversations, which doubled the amount of sales opportunities dealers had. As we talked about serving consumers in a way that they're expecting based on other retail experiences. We talked about reducing or even removing forms in a digital retailing process. And we talked about real-time retailing, which I really believe CarNow is the only platform that is truly delivering that experience. And once again, Tim, you're at the front lines, raising your hand, working to serve your dealers and the consumers to really move automotive retail to another whole level, an experience level that consumers are getting in other areas of retail. So let's stop for a minute and tell me, when a dealer hears this term, real-time retailing, how do you explain it to them? Why is this so core to CarNow's future vision for retail?
Well, thanks, Brian, for that intro. I think we always had, as a company, we always want to listen first and then react. And sometimes you have to pivot. But real time to us means just that, right now. So the majority of the vendors, if not all the vendors in the space, I take I always think about how I looked at things sitting behind the desk, trying to manage a department of the dealership or manage the dealership itself. What was important to me, and important to me was obviously customer experience, but was this selling and servicing more vehicles? And, I was spending tens of thousands of dollars a month just at one location just to get people to my website. And, if you look over the NAD floor, or you look over, whatever venue it is, even if that vendor does a phenomenal job, and doing a phenomenal job means I got using my tool, I got you a name, phone number, and contact information. I have taken a live, living, breathing customer, and I have miraculously put them into a CRM. Now, there's a lot of great CRMs out there, but we all know that, let's just say, our CRM skills in our dealership are not perfect across the board. So real time means just that. So everything, I know you've been the catalyst with the new G4 analytics and with Google Analytics in general, and how dealers measure what's working. But, even if we're setting up, 80, 100, 150 different events in GA, why would we not create a platform that actually showed what was happening, very much like a CNB stock ticker as stock? So if a customer comes on and they click calculate payment, we're going to notify the dealer. Every dealership in the United States right now, I believe, could be wrong, but I think I'm pretty correct, needs inventory. And it's much cheaper with vehicles bringing, out of the book at the auction, although certain states and auctions are settling a little bit now. Instead of paying auction fees and and shipping fees and inspection fees, obviously is much more fruitful to buy them off your showroom floor. So if we have, what I talk about real time is if someone just goes to the website and puts in their trade, and that's the only thing they do in real time, we will show that in the real time platform. Exactly. Even notify via desktop and or SMS to that pre-owned manager, pre-owned buyer that, hey, Tim Cox is on your website right now. He's got a 2018 JL Rubicon. Send him an offer, engage into a conversation while they're on their website, keeping live leads live instead of taking a living, breathing customer and turning them into a data entry. We've paid all this money to get them to our website. Let's talk to them. Let's establish a relationship and notify the dealer that what is happening on their site so they can really see what's working and what they need to do to engage with that customer.
And Tim, it's obvious that you and I are passionate about this topic. I've been writing about this for a while, highlighting what you've been doing because you get it. But for dealers who haven't thought about it, let me share with you some data that should compel you to look at your modern retailing experience differently. Number one, when you put a button on your website, check availability, calculate payments, value my trade, contact us, less than 40% of those people will complete the process. That simple form that looks so simple to you, the reason why 60+% don't fill it out is because they were expecting an answer now. Check availability, click the button, it should say, yes, we have it. No, we don't. Value my trade, a lot of times it's fill out this form and we'll email you your trade. Or get pre-approved, fill out this information and one of our team will get back to you. So number one, the form completion rate is under 40%. And for many dealers, it's more like 25%. So 3/4 of the customers are being disappointed. Number two, once that lead comes into the CRM, the person has already moved on to something else, and you end up chasing them down the street, virtual street. And we know that you probably contact no more than 60%. So another 40% are ghosts and frustrate your team. Labor costs are so high. And so we've now have to hire consultants to motivate the people in the BDC to follow up on ghosts, which we know we wouldn't want to do. And then when you step back and say, hold on, wasn't there someone in the dealership that could have answered that question or communicated? And here's the last point. I don't care how busy your store is, you are typically staffed based on your size. And for an average size store, if I told you, hey, could you take another 30 phone calls a day? I don't think a single general manager would say, no, Brian, if 30 people called to buy a car, man, we would break. But when you look at how many people click those CTA buttons a day, it could be 30, could be 40 in a busy store, 50, but not much more than that. And all we're saying is, why not serve rather than chase? And then, Tim, you've took it to another whole level. You're like the air traffic control dashboard where you're allowing BDC and sales teams to see what's going on their website. Let them jump in, have those conversations, or natively prompt those conversations. So for the dealers who are a little skeptical because they only know about chasing leads, what's the difference in performance? What do some of your customers say without spending more on marketing when they move to a real-time retailing model? How many more sales conversations? How many more cars are they selling with the existing staff?
Obviously, it varies depending on traffic and dealers. I'll be careful not to mention, because I don't have permission. I know I have permission with Patrick Abad at Beaver Toyota. He has roughly, I think he said 40,000 uniques to his website. And when we did this process, his staff actually came and said, what did you do? And, we've got so many more, his staff and his BDC And his sales manager said, they literally told him, and he tells the story better than I do, what did you do? It's working. This is crazy. And he's like, look, we still have 40,000 uniques. The uniques did not go up. It's just, we took the roadblocks down. Kevin Fry, who gave multiple keynotes, has spoke at almost all of your events, one of the brightest marketing minds in the space. He saw 1,300. And please forgive me, Kevin, if I'm wrong. I know it was over 1,300. I'd rather be more conservative. 1,300% increase in ROI. Let me say that again. 1,300%. And look, I've there have been some blogs and some Facebook posts about, you still, at one point get a form. At the end of the day, there are some things that aren't, but the deal is they when the customer clicked on the CTA, they took them down a funnel, and then they earned the right to ask for the customer's information. They didn't put them on a different form. It was just, here's the information you want. Here's the information you want. Here's the information you want. Oh, by the way, we'd love to know who we're talking to. What's your name and number? At the end of the day, these things are just not debatable. Not debatable. It raises the ROI 100% of the time.
Yes.
When you take this out.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you put the context there. There are many cases where our industry has not evolved to offer a uniform real-time retailing experience because the dealer can only control their website. For example, there could be a lead form on cars.com or AutoTrader, KBB, Edmunds, Car Gurus. There could be a third-party lead source coming in that the OEMs buy, or a lead on the OEM site. So I'm not saying that the traditional BDC lead follow-up sales process goes out the door. I'm just saying that where the dealer can control the customer experience, these are local people who've come to their website either through marketing or their brand awareness. You have an opportunity to differentiate your retail experience by serving rather than chasing. You have the ability to develop conversations when people are in the shopping mode, not try to do it later. And I'll give you an example. Tim, you're a Delta flyer, right?
Yes, they're the tallest midget for sure.
Yeah. So, there are times when you call Delta and they're like, hey, we can't handle the call volume. And someone will call you back. Just put in your number and they'll say, like, someone will call you back in 68 minutes. And you know what? I understand certain things, but I'm a diamond flyer. I'm their best customer.
Yep.
And
me too.
And they say, hey, you may be having an emergency. You may need to make a connecting flight. You may need to do any of those things.
Yep.
But the best we can do is call you back in 68 minutes. And other times when I have a need, I have my diamond number, they pick up, I feel great. I feel like, wow, okay, this is good. I got I got a diamond number. In fact, the diamond line works often very well, but when it doesn't, boy, does it stink. And I'm just thinking that consumer comes to your website. It's not even a matter of price. It's not whether you're charging MSRP or not. It's they have a mobility need. They have a question. Will this car fit my needs? Is this car available right now? I'm ready to buy. And the best they get from you is someone will get back to you shortly. Now, if you have a good sales process, they're going to say, Brian, we get back to all our leads within 15 minutes. And all I'm saying is, if I look at my schedule, 15 minutes means I'm in another call, I'm in another meeting, I'm doing something else. I may not even notice that the phone is ringing. And this is where the real-time retailing on the things you can control. Why not do it? Now, Tim, one of the other things that's happening in our industry is dealers don't have many cars. They have cars coming in on transit, and then you have build to order needs. So let's deconstruct this into two pieces. Dealers are turning new cars faster than ever. And that is because of some innovations in being able to display in transit vehicles. And of course, that isn't necessarily new, but what is really exciting with your platform is that they're able to work deals on those in transit cars. Is that correct?
That's correct. So, we want to keep. I really believe that everybody says winter's coming, winter's coming, winter's coming, and I do believe it's going to change once those trucks start pulling up more frequently at the dealerships. But I believe, done the right way, we can stay ahead of it, and we do that by being able to display your make, model, obviously color of those in-transit vehicles that obviously, depending on the OEM, each OEM does it a little different way, that don't officially have a VIN number yet. So being able to work deals on those vehicles. Especially if you have, and most people, I think, gosh, over 80 plus, maybe 90% of dealers in the United States use Viato. So with especially if they're using Viato, it's very easy for us to take that feed and display that in transit vehicle. Because dealers right now are enjoying, in most cases, a floor plan credit, because that interest obviously mounts up days on the lot. And if you're selling them before they even get on the ground, it's allowing our dealers to enjoy that even more. And then the other aspect is building their own car. So being able to create that CTA, that, again, whatever some of our dealers obviously word it different: customize your vehicle, build your car. Instead of going to Chevrolet.com, like you did and I did, for a specific vehicle, you build it out. You can go to the individual dealership's website and build your vehicle just the way you want it. And that way the local dealer captures that information and can obviously either order it for you and or walk you through that process, look what you have, coming in, so on and so forth. So two aspects: selling vehicles that aren't on the ground physically. So we stay ahead of the game to continue to plug that pipeline full of customers that want to purchase from you.
Tim, one of the things that I was just reflecting on as I heard you talk about in-transit vehicles and build to order, you haven't, as a company, lost your passion of staying ahead of the curve. And this is important to me that, 17 years later in automotive retail, I'm still passionate. You mentioned the GA4 Council. I mean, I am reinventing, reimagining, and pioneering still 17 years later. I have that laser focus. It seems that each quarter there are some pretty massive upgrades and shifts to follow the market. That talks about culture. So there has to be something in your DNA as a company with your employees that are delivering the ability to stay ahead of the curve, innovate, iterate. For the dealers who are listening, I think they might want to understand how this differentiates you from your competition.
And I think we mentioned this at one of your last events, if not both of them. And there's nothing wrong with this, but we've enjoyed what a lot of people call success on our growth and how we've grown, dealership partnerships and obviously revenue. But and it sounds cheesy and it sounds canned. But we really live by, John Waxwell said, great companies, there's three things that are usually all the same. Their leadership believes that they want to make a difference with people. Number two, with people that want to make a difference. Number three, doing something that makes a difference. Now, people have been talking about it, and is it completely right yet? No, but sharing that vision and sharing that passion, because our phones rang, and not that this is a bad thing, but we did not want to get acquired. We weren't ready. We wanted to build something special, something that the dealership dealerships and the industry that's been so good to me and my family for such a very long time. We wanted to really put our stamp and make our mark, and we're continuing to do that. And look, are we perfect? Absolutely not. Every dog has, as the old country saying, as I'm known for, I guess, is every dog has fleas, and we have fleas too. And is it very difficult to keep that serving culture? Yeah, no, do our people get recruited weekly, and it's frustrating because of our culture and because of the success they've had in their particular area. They're offered, all this money. And, the most humbling thing is when those people are offered all this money, has people left? Yeah, of course. But the majority of them stay. And the majority of them stay because, of the culture of what we have here at CarNow. And if I was to, summarize it in one word, it would be serve. And it would be us serving our team, understanding, I'll quote my partner, Andy, who doesn't get a lot of face time. He's kind of the brains of the operation, but, he said, from the beginning, look, I don't have to be right, but one of us has to be right. And having that mentality and listening to our dealers and having an open platform, even with successes, and listening and trying to figure things out, and then serving our team that calls CarNow home. I call it CarNow La Familia, and serving them and creating an environment that they want to serve their dealers. And that's really what we live by.
That sounds very Italian. La Familia.
I think that could be Spanish.
So I think you have to practice your Italian. Tim, as we close down our interview, I wanted to mention one thing as we look forward to November. Each year, you are often making some big announcements. Last year, at our fall conference, you announced the unique partnership with Darwin in February of this year. The integration happened. It's been winning major dealer group accounts because of the seamless integration of CarNow, Buy Now with menuing from what could be arguably the best, the most effective menuing platform on the market. But I've been talking after our Napa event about connected retailing. I think that some of the inventory shortages, the MSRP plus pricing has delayed or stalled a little bit of what we would call before digital retailing, pushing more of the deals completely online because frankly, dealers don't want to show addendums. They do not want to show MSRP plus. And so there's some unique dynamics that I think have stalled a little bit. And then secondly, the frustration of trying to create a consistent online experience to in-store. And I was saying that, hey, let's stop focusing on what percentage of the cars are being completely booked online and transacted online. Let's at least move to a connected store framework where the tools, the numbers, the process that the consumer fiddled around with in their home on the dealer's website. When they come in, they could be presented with the same tools, look, feel, and that brings into desking. And I think that one of the missing pieces from this connected retailing platform is so many dealers are falling in love with their desking platform, and regardless of how much of an advantage new digital retailing platforms offer, they get stuck using their comfortable desking tools. Where does CarNow's vision thinking about your customers using your retailing tools online, on their mobile phones, and in the showroom?
Well, I mean, like you said, we're doing things that that have to be connected. Our people, back in the day when I got in the car business in '89, as a 17-year-old kid, that's when dealers were paying, $15,000, $20,000 for a front page ad in the Saturday paper. And a dad or mom would have their morning coffee and say, okay, kids, gather around, get in the car. Let me go show you how to buy a car. and then you go to 4 or 5 different dealerships and, and buy the car. Even with the, this modern retail, when everybody and their brother has a digital retailing tool, nobody is saying, all right, let me sit down and gather around, kids, my MacBook, and let me show you how to buy a car. They're not doing that. And as you coined, connected store, I think is spot on. There's reasons that we'll keep it very vague, that dealers are not spending time living in these tools is because there's not been a lot of innovation out there around that. So I really believe, when you say connected store, making sure that, what the customer does online can easily be transferred, whether it's a link to their phone, picked up inside the store, pick up the conversation and or the process or even the approval, and then seamlessly continue. And again, that's what Darwin has actually helped us with. In fact, I won't mention the name of the group, but there's a 40 store plus group that we had roughly half of the stores, and it was just picture perfect because with our Darwin integration, that dealer group saw a 37% increase. Not necessarily online. They didn't purchase the things online, but because of the Darwin integration and the menu presentation online, a 37% increase in PVR. And that was, I don't know the exact PVR, but with product sales, a 37% increase in product sales. And now we have all but one of those 40, I think it's 42 stores. So continuing to innovate, creating easy things, because at the end of the day, and I'll just leave it like this, the reason there hasn't been total adoption to, what they call digital retailing, modern retailing, because we're asking, and even in the Genesis, and now as we're, halfway through, and so there's some dealers coming out, and there's some companies coming out with a lot of innovation, we're asking dealers to change their process a little bit, and we're asking them to do this in the most profitable time in the history of automotive, right? So I'll just leave it at this. The easier, if we can make that process, whether it's, in showroom or online or penciling a deal or whatever that is, if we can make that easier for the sales manager, for the BDC agent, and literally make their job easier, then that is when adoption will take place. So we'll just leave it at that. There may or may not be some surprises again that will be told in
November.
In November, and we'll keep that. Our partnership has been a long one, and I can remember the days of the Automotive Engagement Conference, the AEC, and we've had with such an amazing relationship. So some of these special things will be left for your conference as we make these announcements as we did last year. But so far so good, and we'll continue to keep trucking.
Great. Well, Tim, thanks for bringing up the Modern Retail Conference, and the team at CarNow will be there on the main stage presenting a keynote session that I think will shake up the industry. We are excited that this year the Modern Retailing Conference has been expanded to provide educational opportunities for everyone in the dealership. This year there's 5 distinct educational tracks for workshops in addition to the keynotes and panels. Those 5 tracks are a sales process track, which is so important today as we talk about modern retailing. We have an HR track talking about the human resource elements and how do we train and retain the next generation of automotive professionals. We have a track dedicated for the new Google Analytics 4 standard, and that's going to be extremely important because Google is cutting off support for the existing analytics that every dealer is using right now in 2023. We're really proud that we're going to be having a marketing track to showcase the latest marketing strategies, and lastly, a creative track led by Paul Daly and colleagues in his network to give creative professionals the best tools, best strategies for helping dealership brand themselves. Of course, we're going to have the who's who in automotive technology, marketing, and sales process. So I want to encourage everyone, get your tickets booked early. The conference will sell out as it has for every year. We have a limited number of well-priced rooms at the O Hotel and Resort. So go to modernretailingconference.com, get your tickets. And members of the vendor community, tickets go up in September. So if you are going to be purchasing an allied industry ticket, make sure that you do that before September 1st. And if this is the first time you're listening to one of my podcast sessions, you should know that there are dozens of interviews with industry leaders, disruptors, and people who are reimagining automotive retail. So make sure you go to your Apple Podcast Player, Google Play, SoundCloud, or you can go to brianpash.libsyn, LIBSYN.com to see every single episode. Tim, it's been a pleasure having you. And for all of you who have been listening to this conversation, I'll catch you next time on another podcast session.